All right, I am live, and although YouTube is still not Dr. Kiltz live until tomorrow, let's get my link and share this link here, copy and throw it out there for brothers and sisters. Let's see here. Oh, I know. I got to copy it here, copy this, and send it out there. It is Sunday, great day in God's paradise. Hope everyone's doing well. It's again Kiltz, drkiltz.com, live right now. And let's go to no and email this. Let's see if I can get this. Let's see if I got Mitch. Maybe not. All right, everyone. Beautiful Sunday. And how's everyone doing today? A crazy world we live in, you know? It really is. And it's always positivity in so many ways. And that's what we got to learn to live in, positivity. And God is good and God is great. And living like a lion, eating fatty meat, bacon, eggs, butter, beef, Kiltz's ice cream, salt, one meal a day in general, but don't worry about it all the time. And maybe keep these short and sweet. Maybe that's what I got to start doing, more short and sweet in life. We're making this too complicated, right? Let's see. We got iCloud inbox. Let's copy this. Copy link. Get over to Mitch. There we go. Yep, it's I don't have Dr. Kiltz this week. Maybe we'll keep this a short one. See how many decide to stop in and say hi. Great day, and it's a month of Lions Diet. Although I haven't been perfect, I've been doing my very best. I do a little bit of coffee. And although I was off of it for 2.5 years, why? Because it was hard. Good morning, Lance. How you doing, my friend? Great day. Okisan. Great day. God bless you. Thanks for stopping in. And again, I'm not here every Sunday. My Sundays get a little kind of crazy. May or may not continue. Not sure 100% for Sundays. And since I was kicked off of YouTube, maybe it's saying, you know what, Kiltz, maybe it's time to put it away and be done with this, online carnivore craziness. I'm doing an interview with John Katko's channel about the new food pyramid. It's going to be a conversation. Thanks. Let's see. We got Zoe, birth control priming for 10 to 12 days. Then an ultrasound and blood work. Should I be getting on ultrasound before the priming is complete? You can. It's not a bad idea, but it's not a requirement. I like to use Estrace Provera. You can use the birth control pill, although, that's a little crazy. Northindrone maybe. Could be helpful. Again, these ideas are radical. But getting that baseline is okay, by the way. Yeah. Bobby Cox, good morning. How you doing, Bobby? Great day in God's paradise, right? God is good. God is great. And I practice my Christian Catholic faith every day. Jesus Christ, the master of the mission. He's a philosopher king. He's a lion king. And I don't care what religion or non-religion you are. It's amazing, amazing concepts and ideas to help us all think better, live better. That's good. They switched to birth control pill. Yeah, that's okay, Zoe. It's either Estrace Provera or the birth control pill. I like Estrace Provera personally, but a lot of stuff happening at CNY Fertility. I'm still here. I'm not doing transfers and retrievals anymore. I'm really helping grow and share the message of why a keto or carnivore lifestyle, faith and fasting is critical for fertility. And in the mind is the master of what you want as if it is, and it shall be that or better. Lena, how you doing from California? Beautiful. Kiltz is from L.A., born and raised in Los Angeles, kicked out of school, and again, couldn't read, father in jail. But Jesus Christ was was kicking Kiltz's ass to teach me some better ways of living, right? So all it was is what's a better way of living in life, right? And the way is hardship, strongship. That's it. We love hardship, right? Rex Collins, good morning, brother. It's a great day, God's paradise. And Kiltz is a lion, lives like a lion. He typically eats bacon, eggs, butter, beef. Kiltz's ice cream salt one meal a day. But, oh, my God, sometimes I might have a piece of bread, small amounts, sourdough, lots of butter. Monica Butler Peterson, good morning on this beautiful snowy day. I didn't make it upstate New York. I was supposed to get up there for the Ellis Hospital fundraiser honoring Dr. Montalto, Nick Montalto, great guy. And but Justine and Justine, Sheila, Nicole. Oh my God, who else was there? Dr. Ditkoff, Dr. Grossman, amazing team. CNY Fertility. I am very blessed to be part of the CNY Fertility team. I can tell you that. And I'm not going anywhere. Just working differently. I'm working on mindset, master set, like a lion. That's the way to live. It's like crazy, amazing, right? And, this stuff we're doing in life is rock star material for all of us, right? On Isabel Goyer. Good morning, everyone. A great day. We'll be back on Dr. Kiltz YouTube tomorrow night, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be. That's our Zoom meetup. I'm actually going out with Angela Lero, Meat Mind, and Scott Everson, the meat stock tomorrow evening, 5:30 to celebrate Rocco's Steakhouse to celebrate Angela's 20. I think she's 29 or 19 year young birthday, and my 70th birthday, March 12th, 1956. Kiltz was born into the universe, and he's celebrating 70 years of life. Never felt better, ever. Oh, we got Mitchie here. I was like, I'm talking my, I'm wandering my mind, and I don't see that my brother Mitch has joined us. Hey, Mitch, how you doing?
Good, Kiltzy. How are you? Can you hear me okay? See me okay?
I can hear and see you spectacularly. I don't even think I got you on my speaker. You can hear Kiltzy all right?
Oh, perfect.
Good. Great day in God's paradise. How's let's see, you're kind of Middle Eastern Florida, right? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, Central Florida on the coast, East Coast, about 20 miles south of the Cape, where they launch all the rockets.
Yeah, and you're a pilot. You love flying model airplanes, but real airplanes, and watching the rockets soar out into space. And you're energized in the carnivore space, and we honor you for being a leader in our space.
Thank you, very flattering. I just so everybody knows. About 10 minutes ago, I was sitting out on my back porch watching TV when I got a text. So I took those 10 minutes to become well prepared, rehearse my speech, and here I am.
And Mitch always invites me. I wasn't able to the other day, and I was like, you know what? I got to get Mitch, because we're going to be here in Tampa on the 7th. You're coming over on the 6th. And we got some others coming to share with all of us why carnivore lifestyle is really a game changer for us in our young 70s.
Yeah, well, I wish I was in my young 70s. Kid, I have to start calling you kid.
Yeah, I'm really just a kid, And I was driving. I went to the village to get some gas and a few other things from his Tia, and Chuck was walking out. He's a neighbor, amazing guy with a cane. He walked all the way about a mile to the gate, a mile back, and I honor him for getting up and out, despite I could see that it wasn't easy. And I stopped and I said, Chuck, can I get you? Can I help you the rest of the way? It's like, oh, absolutely. And I was honored to give him a ride for the last 5 houses to his house, where Mima was there and greeting him. And he said, Bella la vida. And he said, "Do you know Italian?" I said, "Well, my daughter just married an Italian." But it is, where too many of us are suffering as we're aging, and things are going to happen as our Ferraris are getting closer to the we might call it the junkyard, but I used to go to the junkyard to get parts for my cars all the time.
Well, I'll be 79 about the time you turn 70. So you're entering the 70s, a monumental decade. No matter how healthy you are, the physiological changes that I saw in my 50s and 60s, I thought were monumental. But no, when you get into your 70s, there's all these alarms and biological clocks that are going to go off, and it becomes more and more of a battle. And I don't think the goal is, at least my goal, is not to extend my life, because that's an area that's been controversial. It's becoming more controversial. Some of these billionaires are convinced that we never have to die, and I don't believe that. I hear in the carnivore community from so many influencers that human beings are programmed to live for 120 years. And I say to myself, show me one 120-year-old out there that's still alive, and I'll take you seriously. 1 out of 8 billion. Now, how is that supposed to be normal? There's no exceptions. I think, and I say to myself, I'm pushing 80. If I make it to 90, I've done better than 95% of humans that have ever lived. If I make it to 100, I've done better than 99% of humans that ever lived. If I make it to 110, I'm one of a handful. So I set my goals right now at 100. And I love that, because if I make it to 100, that means I got over 20 years left. And when I look back at everything that happened to me in the last 20 years of my life, it seems like an eternity. It seems like a long time, and an awful lot of living, ups and downs and medical problems. And as everybody who knows me knows, I had a stroke immediately after I came to visit you last year.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying to myself, Mitch, I say, what? I said, Mitch, maybe you should just stay home. Maybe. No, I'm kidding. But it's been almost a year. So I am that guy that you ran into walking with the cane. That you offered help to identified with that.
And the truth is, we're all born to die. When and how we die is how God intends. We're making this story, you're right, selling snake oil, like do this and you're going to live to 120, where in fact, I'm here to be blessed and enjoy each and every day. And I said, listen, if I died today, I have lived a great life, and God has really gifted me. And so, eat, as Donna Benedict says, eat real food, and it keeps you healthy, because the truth is, we don't know the right diet that means you're going to live longer. Has science proven it, Mitch?
Well, we do know the opposite. See, we know the opposite. We know that if you eat a low-fat diet, if you avoid all animal products and try to be plant-based without supplementation of all of those things that we need to get from meat and eggs and fish and dairy, we have evidence that yes, indeed, we do die earlier, because when you look statistically at the average age in this country, it's decreasing over time. You compare us to healthier countries like Japan, we're 10 years behind them now. So yeah, I think there is evidence. The problem with evidence, it takes time. It takes so much time to accumulate. I said something in a video I made the other day. I said, do I know whether eggs will extend my life? I said, how the hell do I know? Come back in 100 years and ask me. I don't know. You can't know. And that's the problem with nutrition. Well, I think it's an oxymoron, but the term nutritional studies or nutritional science, I think it's an oxymoron, is that in order to let the science play out long enough with a large enough cohort, it takes longer than most of us have left on this planet. So how can we ever possibly know? We can't. We cannot.
We cannot. We're seeing such benefits in this lifestyle for people to get pregnant and stay pregnant, even without fertility treatments. It sold me 20 years ago when my patients taught me this. And the American College of OBGYN recommends red wine for pregnant lactating women. Alcohol is good for us. And then they're saying, well, you can't do immune treatments because they're not proven, meaning that inflammation doesn't cause infertility, which we know inflammation causes all diseases. And infertility is just another disease of a plant protein, low fat diet, in my opinion, and drinking alcohol like it's good for you.
I agree. And one of the things is, remember the old country song, "Don't believe your lion eyes"? Don't believe your lion eyes. Well, the problem is we have so many case studies, so much anecdotal evidence, such a large community that isn't indeed not dropping like flies from heart attacks after 6 months of eating no plants. We have, and I'm one of them that's included. We have tens or hundreds of thousands of people who suffered through a lifetime of gastric problems and bloating and constipation, and their cure for that was you must eat more fiber. And I remember those days where I was crippled up by this, and yet taking Metamucil by the gallon.
Oh, I was on aspirin, Excedrin, Tylenol. I was on antacids. I was on sinus inflammatory medications for years, bowel bleeding, arthritis, psoriasis, kidney stones, migraines, and it all went away on carnivore. And am I perfect? No. Do I sometimes have a little issues? Yes, but 99%, I've never felt better. I went golfing with my friends yesterday, and Roz and Mike, really great. And CJ was our caddy. They require a caddy at the Ritz in Sarasota, which was great. Now, interesting, CJ, 30, I'm 70. I'm running to go get the ball and, to go here and there, just because it's just like we got a carts and stuff. But then at the end of it, I find out CJ is working with his mom, who's a nurse practitioner in Ohio, helping people through non-traditional healthcare methods. And CJ's helping expand that in the world of all online advice and information about non-traditional ideas like keto and carnivore, which was pretty inspiring to hear from a 30-year-old.
Oh, it's funny you should say that. I think, although not as much as I'd like to see, more and more younger people are indeed starting to catch on to this. I had lunch with my son at Sonny's Barbecue, where we go for lunch, because I like to see him and go out for lunch with him. And there's very few places we can actually go and get meat with a side order of meat that isn't too adulterated, because I don't care. I have to accept the fact that on the brisket, we get a pound of brisket and we split it, and we get a big order of smoked wings, and they make smoked wings there that aren't fried in any seed oils. So that's what we eat, and we divide it up, and it's great. And we got an in with the chef there. He's become our best buddy. and he knows exactly the cuts we like, and it's the one that's loaded with fat, but more like marbled fat than just a big hunk of fat on the outside. And he gives us, last week was the best brisket I ever had in my life. But they do use rubs on the brisket, and there is a little bit of carbs in the rub. So we say, well, what the hell? We're not carnivore Nazis, but it tastes great. We enjoy it, and it doesn't trigger any sugar cravings in me, and satisfies my appetite because of the fat. So it's great. I'm not going to worry about 1 gram or 2 grams of sugar in the rub. But we had a waitress. Who was a young girl, probably in her early 20s, and we made a big joke about ordering, because they come to the table and most of the waitresses know us, but this was a new one. And my son said, well, we usually don't even have to order. We don't need menus. We get the same thing every time. We started talking, and I said, yep, we're carnivores. We eat meat with a side of meat. And she comes out and said, that's what I do. And we talked for 15, 20 minutes about how great the carnivore diet has been and how much she's improved, even at her young age only. So those kind of things kind of fire us YouTubers up a little bit to hear that, give us a little hope, this much hope. Maybe some of all this ranting and raving we're doing, trying to show ourselves as an example, a lead by example, it actually might be doing some good.
Well, I just want to put this up here. Kaylee Miller, through an immune protocol, helped get pregnant where nothing else worked in the past. And one of the things that we're seeing is through a keto carnivore lifestyle and some of the immune treatments we're doing are helping people get pregnant. I mean, your children, grandchildren are the most important thing in life. And through a meat-based diet, and I was pulling up this book the other day, which I think is real important, Eat Meat 3 Times a Day by Schlenk. Even just the fact of eating meat, fatty meat, organ meats, really can be helpful for so many people if you're not strict carnivore. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree 100%. I think that you don't have to be strict carnivore, and everybody doesn't, and everybody isn't. There are so many people in the world that, and I don't want to use the term balanced diet, but there are so many people in the world that do tend towards low carb that do great. I think that there are reasons to be strict carnivore. I think carnivore is a great way to start, so you can find out if indeed there are any of those reasons. One of those reasons is a tendency to not be able to stop when you start eating sugar or any of the processed foods, which is the one that affects most of us. Now, they call that in the big world, they call it food addiction, but I've learned that you don't get addicted to food, you get addicted to carbohydrates, because when you eat food without carbohydrates, you can stop. You do get satisfied. You eat enough fat. So if you have, like Michaela Peterson, autoimmune disorders, if you can't control your addiction to sugar by just eating a few grams, at least to get started, you gotta eliminate everything. So carnivore is a great elimination diet, and I think everybody that goes on to it should reevaluate after 2 or 3 months about whether they need to stay on it. And you do that by adding things back in one at a time and seeing what happens. And if it kills you and throws you off, you say, well, I better not eat that. And in my case, it's blueberries. It's blueberries. I learned that the hard way. I cannot stop myself.
So ribeye steak recalled for contamination with bacteria or yeast, Mitch. That doesn't happen.
Oh, I've never seen a recall on beef, and I've never seen beef listed in any if you go on the WebMD or you Google it or you AI it, what allergies does does red meat cause? And there are none reported, none listed, unless somebody's got alpha-gal.
Which is, once again, that's a new problem based on a marketing ploy to convince people that they are allergic to ribeye steak, but they're not. They're allergic to the tick.
Right, the Lone Star tick.
Lone Star tick, which again is only prevalent based on our modern way of doing anything.
I think that there really legitimately are some people that have bitten by this particular tick and gotten an aversion to meat. I've seen reports on it. It can last up to a year, but eventually resolves itself. And it's nothing wrong with the meat itself. People are half the people in this world or more are lactose intolerant. Their family history didn't include any humans that ever adapted themselves to drinking milk. So you've got but it's not the lactose's fault. You can't say, well, half the people in the world are allergic to lactose, so we're going to ban lactose. No, it's our adaptation to these things. And certain people are going to get an aversion to meat if they get bit by these tick. That's a condition. That's nothing wrong with the meat.
But, well, it's, let's see, cars, planes, walking across the street, and living another human being are kind of dangerous things. A lion that doesn't eat meat becomes meat. And no other animal cooks their food.
I agree.
And so Kayla Miller, does red meat have to be fully cooked when you're pregnant? I'd say rare to raw, fresh fatty meat.
That's the key. That's the key.
Is really the healthiest thing you could do. But the problem is where someone else is hunting, killing, and preparing your food, which evolutionarily speaking is only a modern way of living, to eat out of a box. and I was watching a thing on In-N-Out Burger. They started in a 10 by 10 box selling their burgers and fries. And ultimately our problem is we're eating out of a box.
Most of us are. And there's a number of reasons for that. And you can't overcome so many of these reasons. I mean, and that is, there's 8 billion people in the world, and they all got to eat something. And they all don't live next door to a family ranch or farm. So it becomes a necessity that we be able to get healthier foods through the basic distribution and supply chain of the food industry, which is now run by 5 or 6 huge companies like Tyson and them, the big agriculture.
Isn't part of the problem where we've got to mass produce food to feed everyone, which then pushes the total number of people that could thrive and survive on the industrial food system, which then taxes the environment, because one is we can't manage to feed the number of people need to be fed in our standard, let nature take care of it. So we damage the environment, plus we get us all sick in a standardized industrial food system. And now we're all so sick, you can't afford the healthcare system. And it's just it's a downward spiral no matter what you do.
You have accurately, and I won't say in a positive spin, you have accurately described the going down the drain, basically, one of those circling the drain situations that we find ourselves in, that we may not have wanted to find ourselves in, but because of human nature, because of money and business, and we're there. And I struggle every day because I go between, there's got to be a solution, and then the devil on the other shoulder says to me, we're done, we're sunk, there's no fixing this, every man for himself. And I wish I could come up with the answer. Whether I could come up with the answer or some big committee could
Yeah.
implementing that answer would cause a lot of pain, because there simply aren't enough cows so that everybody can eat like you and I eat right now, because at this point there's so few of us that the competition for decent meat isn't what it would be if people were storming the stores like they did for toilet paper after the pandemic.
Yeah, I only had value because I was over 65, or I was over 60. I can't remember what the age was at the time, but I could get in to the markets first to get the toilet paper. But it's an interesting thing, because ultimately so many of us have gotten obese, which is actually preparation for the famine, the migration, the hibernation, and all of the problems. So in fact, we already contain significant amount of calories to help us thrive and survive all of the problems will be creating. And ultimately, the more we try to solve something, the more problems we create on top of the quote solutions. Nature just does what it does because our overeating is natural and normal to the environment we live in, because our brain is only trying to get you prepared for no food tomorrow.
Oh, you're absolutely right. There's no doubt about it. A good analogy for that would be, you're driving your car, you got a gas tank. You got a gas tank that holds enough gas to go 300 miles. Well, that's great. So you never worry about gas. Never worry about gas, because there's a gas station on every corner. So you wait until it's empty to fill it up. Now, imagine you lived in West Texas, where you can go 300 miles without seeing a gas station, where there's nothing. You would become a lot more aware and stop more often to make sure you didn't run out of gas. And that's our ancient physiology. When we found food, we had to eat it because there was always that scarcity. Now there's no scarcity, but we still have that West Texas programming in our brains. It makes us want to make sure we keep scarfing it up, because it might not be there, the next time we need it. And I think it's one of our problems, that the world around us has changed dramatically and is contradictory to our programming as living things.
Well, and if our programming is the food pyramid, and that's what your brainwashing is, then my ability to think differently is challenged, because since pretty much the day you were born or conceived, really, the message has been fruits and vegetables, 3 to 6 meals a day. And so overcoming that is massively difficult in a drug den.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And you and I have the benefit, me even 9 years more than you, have the benefit of living before Ansel Keys and the first food pyramid became law of the land. We didn't worry about cholesterol in the 50s and 60s. We didn't even know what it was. We didn't worry about not eating eggs or not eating meat. We ate vegetables and fruit. We didn't have the plethora of boxed crap, and we didn't have 18 different flavors of Cheerios. We didn't have Doritos. We didn't have all this engineered food. So we were healthier. We were healthier back in the 50s and 60s. You know, we keep talking about that. Look at the news clips of people on the beach. They were all thin, and they didn't have heart disease. They didn't have diabetes. They didn't have the rates of cancer. Why is it so difficult to convince people today to simply look back 60 years and look at the health of the average American now and say, Houston, we got a problem, and we didn't have that problem. What did we do that was different from what we did before? But nobody seems to want to be that simple. Keep it simple, Stu, but nobody wants to be that simple and obvious in their research.
50,000 years ago, do you know what we ate?
Well, we can only assume from all the archaeology, and now we have stable isotope analysis to analyze the collagen in bones that we dig up that are 50,000 years old. And by the different stable isotopes, we can actually know for certain what that particular being, whether it was human or animal or otherwise, we can tell for certain what they actually were eating. And that is a recent discovery in science, the ability to do that. And we've long known, simply because of the geography of it and the availability of the food to migrating tribes of humans, that more than likely they were carnivores. They eat mostly meat or fish. A lot more fish because they generally migrated along the coast because the food was out there. They didn't have to chase big animals over land. They had to sea. So yeah, when this scientific method of stable isotope analysis came out, that just verified what we had theorized. So now I think it's proven science. And again, that's another oxymoron between you and me. You and I both trust quote, settled science as far as we can toss it.
In the consumption of food, fillet, no skin, no bones, no organ meats. I mean, chicken fillets or even fish fillets. I mean, who ate those as an animal? When we were by the water side and we were eating these things, you would throw away the head and not eat the bones.
You wouldn't throw away anything back then. They found a use, even if it was just in the manufacture, like sending a horse to a glue factory because they knew they could make glue out of it. They always found a use for every part of the animal. My ancestors, my Jewish ancestors, one of their prime delicacies was calf brains. They ate calf brains. When I was a kid, I couldn't even sit at the table with that.
We never did. And the same with liver. But ultimately survival was, so wherever you were, your hunger did not say, ooh. It said,
no doubt.
Ooh, yeah.
Right?
And ultimately, Michael Selly, says nose to tail. And so we're properly propagandized to be proper.
Oh, and beyond belief, it's almost unbelievable when you start to accept the reality of the current narrative and the media and everybody who is incentivized by the amount of money coming from these big corporations to not let our message get out. I mean, that's been our problem ever since the beginning, even with low carb. Look what they did to Atkins when he first started. Everybody. And just now, I mean, I'm not a social advocate, a social media advocate, but it's allowed at least a little revolution to start.
Just think about James Henry Salisbury.
Oh man, that was 150 years ago.
Right on. And so essentially we're all brainwashed. The truth has been out there forever, that eating meat centric is, you had meat and then you had a side. Now we have you might have a little taste of a side of meat, but ultimately your focus is on plants, which,
no doubt.
And the last I looked, does a plant want to be eaten?
Nothing wants to be eaten, not a plant or an animal, but that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is sobering, and that is every living thing in any form will eventually become food for another living thing. And that's all our fate. So what would you rather believe if you're a human being? Nobody wants to believe they're going to become parasite food, bacteria food, tiger food, lion food, alligator food, compost to make plants grow, nobody worm food. Nobody wants to believe that, but that is the reality. And that's life. That's reality. Accept it. Accept it. Like you always say, Kiltz, we're all going to become fertilizer.
That's absolutely. And that's the sort of the finding the joy in life, in the hardships and challenges, because I don't know what's going to happen to me today or tomorrow. I know that, I know one day I will become food and or fertilizer for some other organism. And you can't stop that. And finding joy in just the everyday part of this. And yeah, okay, YouTube Dr. Kiltz got spanked from YouTube. But eventually, all of me will be gone, including my content will be like, oh, okay, we're done with all that yickety yak. And but ultimately there's a master message that's trying to control you and I. And it's really hard to not follow that.
I was flabbergasted when I heard that they put you in a timeout on YouTube. And I said to myself, with all of the ridiculous, politically incorrect, socially horrible stuff that YouTube allows, for them to censor a man like Robert Kiltz, holy cow. And if they can do that to him, they can do it to anybody. And they have been, especially in the political realm. But to do it in the diet realm, especially in this era of make America healthy again, what the hell did you do that was so egregious? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't really know, although there might have been some comment about some cancer therapy in another country doing something a way that people, it was only like a brief, someone else said this and, we didn't even, but it didn't get censored from our side. So then someone, the whatever the algorithms are, beep, it just gets kicked out.
How long was it from the time of this supposed comment until YouTube got it? Because I fear that a tactic that, and I hate to say opponents because we turn this into a war. How can you be in a war when you want the best for people and you want to be healthy and happy? How can that be a bad thing? I can understand that money and power is on the other side of this battle, but how can they frame it or couch it in a way as to show us as the bad guy? We're none of us, certainly not me, are getting rich from this. What we do, there are a few very successful YouTubers, but they're great people, and they started this because they wanted the best for people. So I found that usually when YouTube takes an action of any kind like this, it's replying to or looking at a complaint that was filed. And I can only imagine that somebody who doesn't like you for some reason use this as an opportunity. Otherwise, how can they hold us responsible for some of the crap that people put in the comments that completely litter my videos and live streams? I don't understand it.
Well, as owner of CNY fertility centers, and we do have a large following in that, and a lot of the things that we do are counter to the standard story. Plus, I'm being potentially blamed for some morbidity during COVID, which the system thinks your ideas on carnivore or immunology may not fit right with the story. Maybe I don't know.
That makes sense. That makes more sense to me than anything that has to do with just eating meat. So yeah, I can understand that. And I can see where you'd be exposed to a hell of a lot more controversy than little old me, because I don't talk about COVID. I don't talk about vaccinations. I mean, a lot of my followers do. But maybe that's why. Maybe that makes more sense than anything I've heard so far.
Yeah, and the this platform to share ideas, which offers just like when I talked to CJ yesterday about about the counter culture of healthcare, which takes away from the standard story and standard medical platforms, which is growing. Danny, we had on the other morning, who's all from LA, who's working on helping people with supplements and nutritional ideas that are very counter. And whether you take a supplement or not, I don't know that that's the changer, but I think these ideas that, wow, you mean you could take control of your life, your health and wellness, to things like Kiltz and Mitch are putting out there, which seem counter to everything we've gone through. And obviously you and I have used standard medicine before, but I don't know that I could say that purely I'm here because of it.
Well,
although I practice it.
Yeah, I know, and I even go further, and I credit doctors for saving my life, and I can document that maybe twice, and I'm not unhappy about that. But those doctors are trauma doctors. They were doctors that needed to address. Now, they didn't even do their job quite right, especially when I had my head injury and let it go and let me out of the hospital with a brain bleed, which turned into a subdural hematoma, which had me back in the hospital by air ambulance this time with a brain bleed, and had to have a craniotomy. And I blame that on the doctors. But on the other hand, if they hadn't have treated me right off the bat when I had my head injury, I probably would have died from it. Then I had a stroke 3 years later, and that stroke, which everybody blamed on my astronomically high cholesterol level, happened right where, exactly according to the MRI, on top of where they operated and cut my head open. So it's easy to understand that maybe some microscopic capillary or something got a little damage in that area, and maybe I did throw a small clot from something, and 1 in a million chance it lodged there, and I had a stroke. Man, the carnivore community, the anti-carnivore community went nuts, and poor old Mitch went viral as an example of carnivore causes strokes now.
Right.
That's the way our world works. That's the way the world works.
Well, and since the standard paradigm is fat is bad, animal fat is bad, olive oil is good, coconut oil is good, because nobody, the meat producers don't care about the fat, because they are making their money on lean meat anyway.
Exactly.
And olive oil companies and coconut oil companies and peanut oil companies and corn oil companies are happy to curate that plant seed oils, not fat, by the way, are good for you. And animal fat's bad.
Yeah, well, they've been that ever since Ansel Keys. And there have been some real turning points in this problem we're stuck with this circling the drain situation we've got as far as health and longevity. You can, if you go back far enough, you can always find a root cause for everything. And that root cause has a root cause before it, but you identify these things. And Ansel Keys and his linking high fat, high cholesterol diets to heart disease, where everybody believed it, and his position in government and politics to actually push it, was one of the main turning points in the 50s and 60s. And it's no coincidence. And I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but when I look back at every conspiracy that was proffered in the last 50 years, both in politics and in diet, that were poo-pooed as deniers and conspiracy theorists, when I look back at every one of those, every one of them has proven to be true. It wasn't a conspiracy, but we're stuck on that mentality. But Ansel Keys and his work and his destruction of poor John Yudkin's career, one guy that was out there saying it's not the fat, stupid, it's the sugar. Backed by the sugar industry, they destroyed and canceled that guy. That was a turning point. That was one of the major turning points. And we're still stuck on that. And they still think if you Google who is Ansel Keys, he'll be portrayed as a hero, and you'll see pictures of him on Time Magazine's cover. How do we?
Well, because it's the money, and ultimately all the systems collude to come together and share a story that keeps us weak, meek, and sick. The lions lead to create the rest of us lions into sheep and domesticated animals. And I'm not here blaming anyone, because ultimately we now have the ability individually to decide, am I a lion or am I a sheep? And red meat does not kill us. A plant protein centric diet seems to be a problem in breakfast, lunch, dinner, plus snacks in between. I mean, how much food do we really need?
I'm at one meal a day now. I've gone back to that. The recovery from my stroke, almost 11 months, has done terrible things to my body because of inactivity, and it just had things having to rewire themselves. But I'm coming through it. I think when I see you in a week and a half or 2 weeks, I think you'll be proud of me how much I can get around, although I still have limits and I still have a little trepidation about overdoing it on that trip. But I know I have friends there that'll take care of me, so I'm not worried about that. But that, for me, that trip to your house on Friday the 6th is going to be one of the highlights of my last year. And the reason is it marks the anniversary of right before my stroke. I'll get to meet some of the great friends that I've met in this community that are going to be there. And that includes Rick and Gary and Peter. And I'm really, really looking forward to that. I plan to get to your house to try to avoid the brunt of the traffic early afternoon, if that's okay.
You can come in the morning.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I want to. It's a Friday, and I want to avoid the rush hour because I got to go through Disney. I got to go through Tampa. I got to go through all these high traffic in Sarasota, and I think that around noon or 1 o'clock would be the best time to navigate Sarasota to get out to your house, because it's not an easy place to find. I found it last time, and I am so looking forward to it. You have no idea. To keep me from that event, you'd have to put me in the hospital or in prison. One of the other.
Then we're trying to come to the hospital, and this is what I've loved about this community, is coming together and listening and learning from each other. But ultimately it's community, and we are brothers and sisters. And again, we invite vegan, vegetarians, everyone. It doesn't matter. We're just learning and listening to some ideas that are like crazy. Yeah,
I agree. And we need to keep going, even though it seems like we're circling the drain. It seems like there's no hope. The propaganda never stops. They just ramp it up. If we can, we're in a situation now where if we can steer a few people and they've changed their lives, we're probably doing more than most of the entirety of the corporate medical system. I've been told that I've saved more lives than any single doctor on the planet Earth practicing medicine these days. Now, how does that happen? How does that happen?
Well, again, we've seen, even if you said therapeutically, I'm going to go carnivore to heal something, nothing else I've seen as a doc has worked as well as fatty meat and fasting. And that's the radical part to this. And, if you think about it, between butter never molds, and salted food also doesn't mold. And evolutionarily speaking, we salted our food and we ate the fat. And if we go back to simply that, eat less frequently, joy to the food we're eating, I think we'll be far better than ever before. and fatty meat, bacon, eggs, butter, beef, and salt. Wow. And we show joy in these meetups together, don't we?
Oh, yeah, they're great, and most of those things are generally preaching to the choir. But every once in a while, you got to check up the choir too. You got to keep them convinced, because all our life, everywhere we go, we're told we're fools, we're doing something wrong. Don't you know that this causes that? How can you do it? Your cholesterol is too high. You need to be on a statin. If you don't take the statin, all these bad things are going to happen to you. And then I love it. I say to the docs, but doc, I'm almost 80 years old. I've had this astronomically high cholesterol my entire life. The only time that I really got sick is when I buckled to and took a statin for a while. I got so much muscle pain I couldn't move. I had to get off of it. So how does that jive? How does that make any common sense whatsoever? And you were just talking about butter doesn't mold, fat. Same thing with free radicals and oxidation. We're told all the time, you got to take a lot of vitamin C. You need your antioxidants, anti-this, antioxidants. And my answer to them is, if I'm not eating any oxidants, why do I need so many antioxidants? And that's the medical community's answer. Don't. It's not important what you eat. It's how we treat it after you poison yourself. You understand that? That's my point.
Yeah, and the beauty is, we're all here sharing the story of lions. Lions are not the majority; they're the minority. We don't mind being the minority, but everyone's welcome to taste this idea and show up at the Tampa meetup on the 7th. And for those lucky enough, like you and I, we're going to hang out on the 6th. And in our brother George across the pond, why would you stop trying to sell marijuana, cocaine, alcohol, and statins is just a legal drug that is a trillion dollar industry.
Now we've got GLP-1s.
Oh yeah, and Oprah and her clan are all, and who owns stock in all this stuff.
Yeah,
and, it's like, is selling us on a deadly lifestyle.
Well, we can't. The narrative is just too well entrenched and too strong, and everybody is just whether they know it or not, they're corrupt and contributing to the end of the human race. But that's not important to them. They're just, how much money have I got? How much money do you really need? Actually,
well, the way to make money, the best way to get money is go to work every day in some way, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And that's it. We've been sort of made work as a nasty negative word, rather than, you're a lion, you're going to lay around and someone's going to bring you food. Ain't happening. No other animal lives like that. It is kind of, crazy concepts. We are proud lions, right? Bryn Hojam, 3-week-old baby girl from a protocol from Kiltz. Yeah, it's radical and crazy and amazing.
That's got to be very gratifying for you to get to hear things like that.
It's pretty radical and amazing, and every day I'm dedicated to this, even though they keep on trying to say, Kiltz, you can't do those. It's not right, and it's a crazy one.
You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, they say.
You got it. You got it. I'm gonna go visit my friend at the beach today over at Lido, and hang out there a little bit. I met another friend, Mike, and some others suffering from cancers, and we're gonna help talk about meat as the master meal and fasting, and but between birth, life, and death. The Lion's Way is really radical. And I'm blessed to have met people like Mitch and George and Peter and Michael. And I mean, the list goes on. I'm going to be with Angela and Scott tomorrow, celebrating Angela's birthday. And, we'll be here tomorrow morning, YouTube, hopefully tomorrow night, but we're going to get you, Mitch. And if you need anything, let me know. And
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I'm going to be on tomorrow morning with morning coffee right after Kiltz. So,
all right, everyone. See ya.
Thanks. See you later.
All right, man.